Hello everybody and welcome once again to the Phoenix World Championship as we approach the final stretch. Right next to the finish line, just one more push for this season. We are back to the Hockenheim ring, the place where it all began and where it's all gonna end for round number 9 of the Phoenix World Championship. Just 2 more races, just slightly over an hour left until we're able to determine who is gonna be on podium overall, as we have already established who is the reigning champion, as that is McLaren team, who's currently on pole with just over 5 minutes to go in the first of the 2 qualifying sessions at this Grand Prix. So, 9 races. 1 continent, a few countries, mostly Germany. We have started in Hockenheim in May, and we're gonna finish in Hockenheim here in late September. You can see the introduction. The weather is quite chilly today, just 17 degrees Celsius outside, and the cold tires might become an issue once again. 130.4 is the reigning lap record, 131.8 current fastest lap by McLaren team. And drivers have to complete the 4500 meter lap plenty of times today to decide who is gonna maybe climb a few positions, maybe lose a few positions, maybe, well, fight for the podium, as we have our standings on the screen right now. The battle is not over yet. In the team standings you see quite a disparity, but Team Apex Gear well, probably secure in the 3rd place at this point, as Team Hufflepuff decided to not show up once again. So, we were probably done with Teams Championship. The gaps are quite big. Maybe Phoenix Racing Team and United Kiwiland might have a scuffle. But in Drivers Championship, it's still wide open. Gunsters and Photon Burst. Just 24 points between those drivers. And then you can see 4th all the way down to 9th. Battles all over the place. Battle for 8th between teammates and battle for 4th within 40 points between 4 drivers. It's still wide open. We still have 86 points on offer in total, so anything and everything can happen. We have a couple new drivers here as well that might steal a few points from people that really need them at the end. So I don't know, it can all happen here. Things can go absolutely wild. And as usual, today it's gonna be me, Ilya Babansky, here in the commentary booth, once again alone at this point. So hopefully I'll find lots and lots of fluids to drink, because I am definitely gonna need all of them. 3 minutes left in this qualifying session. We're looking at one of our new additions, pocket-sized, currently in the 8th place. 3.2 seconds back from the leader, McLaren team. Photon Burst is in 2nd place in the qualifying right now, and all eyes are on him. He needs to erase the 24-point deficit in 2 races from Gunsters. It's a difficult job for Gunsters as well, because another new runner, Ted, right here, is in 3rd position in the Mercedes right now. Taking away that 1 point from Gunsters for qualifying. Once again, Gunsters needs everything he can get. That 1 point might end up being the decider in a battle for the 2nd place overall. And now he's not getting it. He's half a second back. Mr. Grinder and Gunsters squabbling for 4th position here in the qualifying. Neon Tiger and Viperian locked together once again. And Pocket Sized is still trying to adjust to the new machinery. Photon Burst in the pits. 1 minute 30 to go. I believe Photon Burst is not gonna go again, so he is not gonna get 3 points for the qualifying here. 2/10s back, but it's not fast enough. McLaren team still on pole, and the rest are still trying to get as close as possible to him. Viperian is in pits. His qualifying effort is done. He's currently in 7th position. That using all of the track and then some to get his Mercedes across the start-finish line. Let's see if he improves any. He does not. Stays in 3rd position. Gunses is gonna end his lap, and we'll see if he starts another one. Mr. Grinder 132.5, and he gets past Gunses. 132.8 from Gunses. It's not good enough. Mr. Grinder qualifies 2/1000ths of a second behind Ted. Mr. Grinder loses out on the podium, on the top 3 in qualifying, but he still has 1 lap. Gunses needs to find another 0.3 of a second to get anything. Anything from this, any points, he's dropping further, and that is hampering his race ideas as well. Tad is off the track and he is in the pits. His qualifying is done. He is in 3rd position for now. Mr. Grinder will have a chance to do something about it. There you see both Grinder and Gunses, both drivers that need good results. Neon Tiger finishing the qualifying. No improvement, he stays in 6th. The next one will be pocket-sized, currently in 8th and final position on the grid before the race, but still 1 attempt to get it done. Breaks into the final sector. The treacherous drag strip stays alongside on the start-finish straight, and the result is 135.1. Improves but not good enough. We see Grinder in the pits. He will not improve. He is not gonna get the podium. So the final driver on the attempt is Gunses. Here and there, 0 on the clock, but the important time is 132.7. Improves, but not good enough, as Gunses qualifies in 5th place. Neon Tiger sideways, and I believe that ruined his qualifying attempt here. Let's see if he still tries to get something done here. There was a big wiggle, but he secured 6th place. He will need 1.5 seconds more to get past Gunses. I'm not sure he can do that, but he will definitely try. He's the final driver on the qualifying attempt. And as he rounds up the final couple of corners, he pulls up in the pit lane, and that was not fast enough to get any better result. And that's our grid for race 1. The Mercedes dominated. McLaren team from Fortenburst from Ted, Mr. Grinder, Gunses, Neon Tiger 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th in BMW. Viperion in a solo Audi effort in 7th place. And Pocket Side rounds out the grid in a Mercedes. I have just a couple of minutes till we go green for the first race of the 2 remaining. We have two teammates on the front row. The Timberwolves Racing coming in strong once again, ready to destroy any and all competition that comes their way, basically. And let's see if that actually works for them this time around. Definitely gonna be a tough battle into turn 1 and 2. The weather is pretty chilly, the tires are cold, and anything can happen. If Fortenburst gets taken out at any point and loses a lot of position, that might as well be it for the podium battle. Once again, battles all over the place. It's not just for the podium. We do have the battle between Neon Tiger and Viperion further down. We do have 2 new drivers trying to prove their worth. We do have Mr. Grinder trying to take as many positions, trying to take advantage of people not participating in tonight's event. And obviously we do have Gunses deep in 5th place, needing a great start and a great drive to minimize the point loss, or even better, beat his opponent to try to keep his position alive. Just under a minute to go. I hyped this up to the extent of my abilities. I can't say much more about what is gonna happen here. We're just gonna have to wait until the green light drops and just hope for the best, man. Hope for the best that we're gonna see the best race we can imagine in just a few seconds. The camera behind captured our leader, revving his engine up as we have 6 lights. And away we go, everybody goes off the grid. Side by side between the leaders, Fondenberg gets a better start, he has the inside line. Will he be able to do something with McLaren team? He has to slow down to avoid crashing into his teammate. He is still side by side, too wide, Fondenberg slots behind. Gunzes is currently battling for 4th with Mr. Grinder side by side. Ted is in the way, he's not gonna get out of the way, so Gunzes drops down to 5th. Mr. Grinder and Ted still side by side, looking for the battle. Ted dives inside, and I believe he does get that position. He slots back into 3rd place and keeps his position from Mr. Grinder. Mr. Grinder is under attack by Gunzes. Gunzes needs this position. He's on the inside. There's gonna be a difficult break-in zone. And let's see if Mr. Grinder can swing it round the outside to keep his position. Gunzes is having a good run. Mr. Grinder on the outside using all of the available space and then some to try to keep his place. They're still side by side into the right-hander. Gunzes is slightly in front, but he has to slow down and he loses that position back. Mr. Grinder stays in 4th place, but it's still not over. Viperian is behind that duo, still lurking, still looking for that position. It's still not done. McLaren team is up and away in the lead, already built a 1 second gap to his teammate, who is now under pressure from Ted, and he loses the position. There is Photon Burst. He was off the track, and now he is entering the carousel almost alongside Mr. Grinder. This is the best view Gunzes could have all the way down from his 5th position. A little bit of a mistake on cold tires, and he lost the place. Gunzes goes right into the pit lane. He does not want to be hang back, does not want to be held back, and just drives in, locks everything he has. And let's see if it's gonna be a good stop. He needs a good stop. He needs basically the perfect stop. And I don't think it was a stop. Did he just... I believe he just drove through the pits. It might have been a jump start. We do not have the monitor for this race due to technical difficulties, but he just drove through the pit lane. It might have been a jump start for the Latvian, and this is an absolute disaster. Meanwhile, Photonburst is under attack from Mr. Grinder. Mr. Grinder goes around. Let's see if Photonburst can cross him over. No, Photon loses out, and he's down to 4th. Gunzes is having a nightmare race, but he is lucky to have Photon Burst having problems as well, jumping from second all the way down to 4th. Now he has to pressure Mr. Grinder. Neon Tiger is off the track in the background, missed the turn, now under pressure from Pocket Size, side by side. And there you see Gunzes on the background. Pocket Size goes on the inside in the kink. On cold tires it's gonna be very difficult. Pocket does a smart thing and just slots back, just waiting for a good opportunity. We still have the battle for the podium. Mr. Grinder and Photon Burst next to each other. Photon needs everything he can get, and then some. As I said, probably way too many times already. We see McLaren team getting away. Ted securing 2nd place for now. Not much pressure, but we still have the full pit cycle to go before this is resolved. Wide goes Photon Burst. We see a wide angle shot here. You see the leader coming by, and a charge from Photon Burst dives deep into the corner, goes around the outside. But he does have overlap. He is on the inside. He will have the opportunity to get past Mr. Grinder. This is a very draft reliant track. Once again, there is lots of opportunity here. They're approaching the hairpin. Mr. Grinder slots back out, looking for the inside line. Ted makes a little mistake. Oh, there is a bump. There is a bump from Mr. Grinder and Photon Burst. They're all kinds of loose right here, right now. But Photon Burst is back to the podium. Very tough drive for both of the drivers. But the Timberwolves Racing 28 entry is ahead in the podium battle. He would like that 2nd place back though, but he will need to fight hard for it. Further back, we're looking close to a third member entering the battle for 6th place, as Gunzes, after his drive through the pit lane, approaches Pocket Sized, who's still struggling for grip here. Neon Tiger is just ahead. Gunzes needs to get past. in a matter of corners, not even laps, corners, to make sure he has any fighting chance here. We're gonna keep an eye on that battle to see if that is gonna happen very fast. The DRS is gonna become a factor now. Gunses will have his letterbox wide open on the back straight, on the big parabolic curve, and with the drag he will have the opportunity. He slots in behind, he doesn't want to risk anything before he has a great speed and a great overlap. He goes for it now, goes down the inside of Pocket. Pocket does not really try to defend it that hard, still on the inside but already behind. Will he try to slot behind Gunses? Yes, indeed. Easy pass for the Latvian, not much resistance, but he does have Neon Tiger to fight next. Still in 7th position. The difference between 3rd and 7th place is gigantic. It's 13 points plus 2 more points for qualifying. So right now, Fordham Burst. Oh, Neon Tiger goes off the track, and I believe that changes the battle. So now, from 13 points, it gets down to 10 points. Neon Tiger gets a little bit of an issue with his brakes. It looks like locked his brakes again, and now a couple seconds back. We're going back to the fight for the lead as Gunses made his way past. So with Gunses in 6th, now it's a gain of 12 points. 12 points in favor of Fordham Burst out of 24. So he will need 12 more. If everything ends like they are now, with Gunses in 6th and Fordham in 3rd, the difference is gonna be 12 points heading into the final round. And 12 points is the difference between 1st and 4th. Gunses is still very much in control of the situation, but he keeps making mistake after mistake after a mistake. So we'll see. It becomes almost a psychological battle rather than physical and car handling battle between him and Fordham Burst. Fordham fighting back, already catching up back to Ted, to the 2nd position. That is 4 more points in his favor right here in front of him. Just a second between him and that goal. So he wants it, and he wants it bad, and he wants it now. Still pit cycle to go, still lots of racing left, but you can't make any more mistakes at this stage. It's too late in the race and too late in the season to be affording any big mistakes. We're going back to Gunses, who's now catching up to P5, Viperian. That's another 3 points. When Gunses gets to 5th position, or shall I say if Gunses gets to 5th position, the gap will open up to 15 points in Live Championship. This is rather big, and we'll see if Fordham Burst can answer with 4 points of his own. It's much more difficult challenge for Fordham Burst, as Ted got lots of pace, still 1.5 seconds between them. Ted has not done a... Oh, very close between Gunses and Viperian, almost rear ends the Kiwi here. As Ted hasn't done a green flag race pit stop in this series yet, so there might be mistakes happening. So we'll keep an eye on the pit cycle. Gunses gets the draft, gets the letterbox wide open, he goes on the inside and completes the pass on Viperian. Not much resistance once again from a backmarkers in this race. Gunses up to 5th, the gap is up to 15 points right now. And one more thing, we just hope doesn't happen. We hope there are no penalties. We hope everybody plays it clean, plays it fair. We do not want the podium battle to be decided in the steward's room rather than on track. It can happen, and well, if there is a penalty, it is fair. But I certainly want everything to happen clean and fair. And in the next hour and a bit, with the cars on track, having lots of curbage, both the drivers of Ted and Fordham, 2 Mercedes drivers fighting it out. Fordham does 1:32.998 personal fastest lap as he's chasing Ted relentlessly, and now opened the gap to 2.7 seconds to Mr. Grinder, almost out of DRS range. Fordham is on the charge. He will have some tow, he will have DRS. Let's see if he likes to use it here. He's on the straightaway, no DRS open, he saves it for a later date. He's certainly within range, he's electing to wait. Once again, you see on the dash, lots of numbers, the bottom right of the dash is the gray rectangle that says DRS. When that goes green, the DRS is open. The drivers have 3 uses per lap and 12 laps worth of DRS, and it's only available when you are 3 seconds behind the car ahead at the start-finish line. So you need to manage, there are more than 12 laps per race, you need to manage your DRS well, and don't end up without it when you need it the most. The gap is still shrinking, half a second between drivers. Meanwhile, we have to go back while pocket number 66 of the team Western Scrubs forces Viperian into the mistaken left-hander and takes away P6. Viperian is still locked in a battle for the top 10 positions in the championship overall. He does not want to lose any positions, especially with lack of fighting like this. The leaders are crossing the start-finish line again. Ford Burst, we go back on board. That conflict behind us is resolved. Neon Tiger off the track, we see once again. And there is another problem for the American. He rejoins the track. And now, almost 10 seconds back. We continue following. We continue following with that on board of Ford Burst, who's in hot pursuit, still no DRS. He might have used some earlier to attack Mr. Grinder, and he might be saving it now for the end of a race, much later on the brakes than Ted. Closes the gap, looks for the inside. Ted gets better acceleration off the turn. Neon Tiger on the pit lane, the first driver to make his green flag mandatory stop. He's not gonna lose any positions from this, but he might be able to do an undercut on Viperian and Pocket Sized as they're locked in a battle right now. But once again, do not count out the position number 4, Mr. Grinder in his BMW, the leading BMW of the field. Still very much in hot pursuit of the podium, and still a factor if Ted and Photon battle a little bit too hard too soon. Now we'll see if Photon will elect to pit early, now that he's on the rear of Ted, and maybe just a little bit too close. So far, none of the trio elect to go into the pit lane. McLaren team still comfortably in the lead, and also decides to stay out for the time being. We have no idea about the tactics, we have no idea about the strategies. Mr. Grinder, 37.7 I believe. Unfortunately, I don't have the race monitor to confirm that graphic. Another brake lock from Ted. He will lose the exit speed onto the Parabolica, so that might be a chance for Ford Burst to get close. Viperian, meanwhile, sets personal best at 34.6, chasing Pocket Size back. Fordon looking for the inside. Will he go for it? Yes, he does. He's on the inside, side by side. Into the hairpin. Ted goes wide, trying to attempt a crossover. He got a better exit. He is sliding. Will he go on the inside? No, Fordon protects the inside line. Ted is trying to go around the outside, side by side. Still side by side. Ted will have the inside into the next turn, and Ted is emerging victorious in that fight. They're still racing hard, they're still right next to each other. The only guy winning from this battle is Mr. Grinder, who's now right on the tail. You see fight behind between Pocket Sized and Viperian on that wide angle shot, but we'll have to follow this bunch for the time being. Let's see if anybody blinks first and goes onto the pit lane. Round the third sector once again, using all the curbs and then some, and there we go. Funburst is the first onto the pit lane. As we said, he might want to get away from that battle, and Mr. Grinder jumps right behind him onto the pit lane and wins seemingly a little bit entering the pit lane compared to Photon Burst. Let's see if it's gonna be difficult on the pit exit. Quick service needed for both drivers. Mr. Grinder goes off the pit box, so does Photon. They're close, Photon's still ahead. Both of them with cold rubber, and both of them. Okay, Gunster's on the pit lane as well. We missed that a little bit too. That's his actual mandatory stop, as he had to get a drive-through early on. He lost position to Pocket Size and Viperian, but that is still the middle of a pit cycle. All eyes, apart from that battle here, most importantly, both Thornton and Mr. Grinder rejoined in front of Pocket-Sized and Viperian, so there is no traffic factoring in for these two. It's a battle between them, but it's also a battle against Ted. If I am Mr. Grinder, I'm staying back and pushing both of them in front before settling it. They have a chance to undercut. They do need to stay together. They do need to work together instead of racing right about now, in my eyes. Viperian lost a little bit of time. He must have made a mistake somewhere on the background. We are officially halfway through the race. 14.5 minutes left to go, plus 1 lap. A little bit sideways from Mr. Grinder. Those cold tires are letting themselves into the picture. McLaren team, the leader, is in the pit lane. And we see Ted is in the pits as well. Everybody's pit, McLaren team in and out. Very easy, very simple. He's in the lead, controlling the race. But we're going on board with Ted, with probably the most important stop of this race. From second place, he needs a quick in and out. He's going with a lot of tire spin. That might cost him some time, might not. Everything we're gonna see right now. We see the cars in his rear view mirror. We're going on the angle shot. And Fortenburst is through. Fortenburst is through to the second place. And now Mr. Grinder is trying to attack. Round the outside into turn 2. And he goes round the outside. Ted lost 2 positions in the pits. He's now behind, right in front of his teammate Pocket-Sized. All of them clear of the traffic. Viperian is on the pit lane. But now Ted got undercut by 2 drivers, but he is a fast driver, so this is still gonna go right to the very end. This is incredible racing. But for now, Mr. Grinder is chasing a Photon right next to him. We go on board. With the DRS wide open for Mr. Grinder, number 20 entry of Apex Gear, who was looking but not close enough to attempt to dive just yet. We're gonna hear this glorious engine and see those drivers in action while we go on board. We go back live as we saw the mistake from Mr. Grinder, a little bit sideways, entering the stadium, and now he's under fire from Ted and now has a gap to Fortenburst of 1.5 seconds, still within DRS range, so he still can use it and still have to build a gap now from Ted. Most importantly, Photon can breathe a little bit, just over a second gap. He needs that second place. 132.9, the fastest lap from him. 132.8 is the answer from Ted. The Western Scrubs driver of 014 is not gonna give it away that easy. 10 minutes and 30 seconds plus 1 lap to go in this race. Still, everything to play for. Kunzes is now in 6th place, as we are tracking the battle for the podium here, but Pocket-Sized ahead of him, 11 seconds ahead, who is now chasing that back and was enjoying DRS for the time being, is yet to stop. So in net gain, Gunses is in 5th place. That means if Photon remains in 2nd position, there is gonna be a race difference of 11 points plus 2 more for the qualifying, and that's 13 points off the table. I believe, let me try to count it once more. Yes, that is 13 points, which leaves 11 points left until they're tied. Just 11 points, more than halfway through in the first race if Photon can keep that pace. It's still a tough job, but it's still so close. If he repeats that performance, if he stays in 2nd with Gunses in 5th, he will secure the 2nd place in the championship. If he repeats the 2nd position in qualifying as well, but since it's the final race, as we see pocket-sized now the final car to take the pits, which gives Gunses his 5th place in the race with 9 minutes to go. Let's see where pocket-sized continues as well, as Viperian had a little bit of a problem and seems like he was not able to catch up as Viperian rejoins comfortably in the gap of quite a few seconds. We continue monitoring the fight for the podium. But as it's the last race, once again, I say that way too much and the drivers keep denying it, but the team tactics is an option. It might not be pretty, it might not be kind, but it's an option. If McLaren team is in the lead with Photon needing points, there is a 4-point swap available to the drivers of Timberwolves Racing. The victory is 40 points, 2nd place is 36. So if the difference is under 4 points, if I'm the leader, I'm slowing the heck down. Or, I don't know, I'm making it look like an accident. It's also possible. But there is lots to play for. And with Gunses not having a teammate to help him, that opens it up for Timberwolves Racing rather than Gunses from Team Gunses Giraffe Malibu helmet. 132.965 is the fastest personal lap for Photon Burst. He is still trying to build the gap and still succeeding in it. Meanwhile, the fight continues for 3rd place rather than 2nd, as Ted, as we go on board with him, is now chasing Mr. Grinder. Mr. Grinder wants all the points. He missed quite a few races in the middle of a season and now trying to recover his position in the championship. So he wants that. Ted is a new driver. He has a big all zero in his point column, but he will try to get some points and try to get some pride, I guess, in that race. A little bit too hot on the AstroTurf as he loses the rear end and still in the chase. He tried to jump down the inside, but late braking from Mr. Grinder denied that opportunity. Ted is currently looking like the fastest driver, but he does not see the gap to go through at this point. It's a battle for 3rd position once again, with Photon Burst right ahead of him. If Photon makes a mistake, that's a position still up for grabs for both of those drivers. That's BMW versus Mercedes versus 2 more Mercedes up top. Gunses is 15 seconds back. Safe to assume that without shenanigans, he is not gonna get anywhere near extra points for this race. So what Gunses really hopes for right now is for Ted and Gunses to get into it. Ted and Grinder to get into it and lose positions, lose time, and hit walls in order to get past them and get some extra points and keep the gap going. Here's another wide angle shot. There is the gap between 2nd place Photon and the chasing pack. And as we see, Gunses is nowhere to be seen on cameras. He is way too far behind to pose a challenge on pace. So now it all depends on Grinder, Ted, and Photon, who is still 1.5 seconds ahead. Another wide angle shot incoming as we have another send down the inside from Ted, but he's still braking a little bit too early, having to leave the outside for Mr. Grinder. Mr. Grinder takes the outside, and they're still side by side at this point. Ted is a little bit ahead. Will he be able to secure it? Coming into the kink. He does for now, but Grinder on the inside, he sends the car, and he keeps the position. There is Gunses on the background. What a battle between Grinder and Ted. Very respectful, very close and very tight, and very thank you very much from Photon Burst, who is running away from these two as they're duking it out. I don't think either Grinder or Ted care about the podium battle for Photon Burst. They want that podium, and they want it yesterday. 132.5 from McLaren team. He's clearly in a league of his own. Once again, the soon-to-be reigning champion in Phoenix World Championship just shows why he deserves that title. Complete and utter dominance, 16 seconds ahead of his teammate, and even more seconds ahead of everybody else. We continue looking at that battle on board with Ted. Both of them very much sideways, and both of them very much going full beans. The pedal on the right is being smashed to the floor and almost through the floor as frequently as possible as the laps are winding down. Just 4 minutes plus 1 lap to go for them to figure it out. DRS is closed for Ted. He might be running out of laps. He might be saving it for the final lap. We have no idea what's happening, but so far he's looking around the outside, but he still brakes a little bit later than Mr. Grinder, which saves Grinder a little bit of a hassle here. He has the line and he uses it. Ted is still behind Grinder, looking for the inside line, slots behind, does not want to have it. Grinder, very smart defensive effort, closes the door on the inside, no room for Ted to fit through, and he has to settle back. The fight continues. Different cars, different strengths. It looks like the Mercedes is currently being a little bit faster than BMW due to setup work on natural difference, but it is very much loose right now underneath the driver of Ted. So I have no idea if that's the driver input or the car input. The cars are different, but they are balanced on speed. So everybody has their strengths, everybody has their weaknesses. It's all about using your strengths and exploiting the promos of the others. Not much time left. 3 minutes plus 1 lap. That's probably gonna have 3, maybe 4 more laps left in this race. Tires are definitely in their prime right now. So it's all up to driver skill, all up to driver balls, and all up to their willingness to try it all on their way to the podium. McLaren team crosses the line now, which is good news for Ted, as the timer says 140 and his lap time says 132. That means that McLaren team, unless something happens, will cross the line with still time left on the clock, which means 3 more laps to go. The gap is opening up just a tiny little bit. The entire trio, Photon, Grinder and Ted, all doing 33.2. But we are back to the parabolica where drag and toe matters. Ted needs a great exit. The gap between Photon and Grinder is a little bit bigger. The toe is not going to be quite as apparent as between Grinder and Ted. So Ted will have the preferential treatment from the arrow on that straight coming into the hairpin to try one more attack. He needs to be closer than that though to attempt to pass. He will need to be very close, very late in the race to attempt to move. He still has the better exit seemingly onto the next straight, but with Mr. Grinder closing down all the inside lines, it rather has to be audacious move around the outside, or it has to be a dive where Grinder can do nothing about it. Grinder is not giving up that position easily, or I guess he's not giving up that position. In any case, Ted goes into the gravel a little bit, loses time. The gap opens up. Grinder, before arriving to Parabolica, once again says thank you very much, I'll enjoy that breathing space. McLaren team crosses the start-finish line. The time expires now, so we have 2 more laps to go. Starting from this point for these 2 drivers. 33.1 for Fordon, 33.6 for Grinder, 34 flat for Ted. Fordon just needs to not make a mistake and secure that second place and secure the point hole. That's all he needs to do here. Ted needs to get close to Grinder now and try a move at the end. He's still close enough to get the toe. We go on board with him. DRS is wide open. He still has DRS laps. Right at the end, he still goes fast. He's better than his personal best delta. So he needs to do anything in the world to try to close that gap on this lap. It's very close, but DRS will be open for Ted for the entirety of this lap. 3 uses, 2 left. Let's see where he uses them. Probably this straight and then the start finish to set up a move for the last lap. This is the battle we're waiting for. But we will have to show you. Pocket Sized is off the track and stationary. We have no idea what happened. Back into the pits, Pocket goes. We'll see what happens. But McLaren Tim crosses the finish line and wins round 17 of Phoenix World Championship. We go... Oh, sorry, I'm an idiot. He doesn't win it yet. He's in the final lap. He needs to go round one more time. Pocket Sized is in the pits. He's getting a toe, so his race is pretty much over. We'll have to figure out what happened there. But now this is the final lap for everyone, so we'll have to hold back one more lap while we still have the battle for the third place. 132.6 from Ted. Incredible lap from the American as he's trying his best to get the podium back. Mr. Grinder will have to do something special to keep his car ahead. He is still in the DRS range from Photon He will have the DRS usage if he still have laps back. But Ted will have insane toe. We'll see which way they go. Who goes inside, who goes outside, who goes around side. Ted drives inside. Grinder does not defend. He will try his luck round the outside. Side by side they go into the hairpin. This is for all the bins. Mr. Grinder tries to cross over. He does the crossover. They're still side by side. Grinder's got to be on the inside. He's a little bit back, but there's still chance. He needs to close the gap and try the move. Right here, right now. He's on the inside. He's trying to send side by side. And Grinder does it side by side still. What a send. They're still racing, still side by side in the final lap. McLaren team is about to win this race, but Grinder loses the position. They still have just a little bit less than half a lap to go. There is one more overtaking zone at the end. He will try to send it right there, right now. McLaren team wins the race. We showed him previously, so that's good enough. Funberst will secure the second position. Neon Tiger in the pits as well, and Viperian finished in 6th. They both got lapped, but now there's the final moment, and Ted will secure 3rd place. What a battle. I lost my voice. Ted on the final lap in an insane battle. Gotta give props to both drivers. Mr. Grinder tried it all, but not good enough. Brilliant battle. Gunsis finishes last on the lead lap in 5th, and now he has the psychological battle in front of him as Photon Burst is in 2nd and gaining and gaining and gaining. Wow. My driver of the day has to go to this driver. Ted finishes in 3rd. He got undercut by both Fortenburst and Mr. Grinder and rallied at the end to get the position and get his podium. Insane drive by everybody on the podium. McLaren team dominating once again, and great 3-way battle. Fortenburst emerges victorious to set up an insane finish to the championship. Don't you dare go anywhere. We have a battle in our hands in just a few minutes.
Hi, I'm Norman Mitchell, standing here in front of PWC Wellness Center in Houston, Texas.
Mid-County area is where we're going. Port Arthur, Nederland, Port Neches.
We're in Canovanas, the shelter here in Puerto Rico.
We're here at Jardín Pushkin in Colonia Roma.
The hallmark of disasters is you have to do what you do, you just have to do more of it faster. 2017 has seen more large-scale emergencies in sequence than ever before in direct relief 70-year history. The people who know the most, have the most at stake, are going to do the best job with the resources they have are the ones who live there.
Just received a large shipment of critical medicine from Direct Relief.
Some gauze, some bandages for people that are managing the response and rescue efforts.
You're standing strong, united with every other organization providing primary care and critical access to those individuals who have been most impacted.
I remember that guy, he's a bit of an idiot. He stopped. Somehow we was like, fuck you, I'm not turning. I hit the wall, but I hit one of the bones because I lost. Heavy damage. Don't try to kill yourself. GT3, get a GT3. He's fucking idiot. At least I think something bad happened to somebody in front of us. Welcome to Daytona. Checker flag. Fantastic job, everyone.
We are back. It's the DTM. We're here in.
This is the fastest form of touring car racing. We've got three of the biggest manufacturers in the world.
Down with the victim. We both know you need them. Stuck in the middle of all irrelevance. You can't fight the friction. You can't take the pressure.
Fucking idiot from Watara.
Safety car deployed. Safety car deployed.
You can't fight the friction.
From where we came on the grid, to be in the points was my dream. To be on the podium is f***ing amazing.
Does it improve the lives of people? That's the true measure of any technology or any new investment. And you hope to God that basic core human element is never lost, no matter how technologically advanced we get as people. So the human case has always been strong for what direct relief does. People who are poor or stuck in these terrible circumstances need help. That basic idea to listen, not impose, to be respectful, not arrogant, is still as valid as it was in 1948. Principles really don't change, and I think direct relief, fortunately, started with good ones of being open-minded, kind of big-hearted with respect to people's needs, and hard-headed when it comes to other people's money. When you look back and think direct relief has played a significant role in many of the signature humanitarian events over the past 70 years, the combination of those characteristics has served the organization well, and they're sort of timeless. You're surrounded by inspiration if you see it. I think anytime, if you've never done something, you've done something at one scale, it's scary to think how you can do it at 10 times the scale. But at the end of the basic decision was pretty easy. Why would we not do this when the signals were all pointing in the right direction? The dedication of the building is really a rededication to the cause, to the idea, and a commemoration to the people whose generosity made it possible. What it represents is a much greater capability to help more people with tools that we have embedded in it, with the experience of 70 years. To bring those together in this building so we can do more in the same efficient way we've always tried to do it is really exciting. And we are sobered by the challenge, but deeply thankful for the opportunity to keep doing what Direct Relief has been doing for the past 70 years.
I'm Norman Mitchell, standing here in front of PWC Wellness Center in Houston, Texas.
Mid-county area is where we're going. Port Arthur, Nederland, Port Neches.
We're in Canovanas, the shelter here in Puerto Rico.
We're here at Jardín Pushkin in Colonia Roma.
The hallmark of disasters is you have to do what you do, you just have to do more of it faster. 2017 has seen more large-scale emergencies in sequence than ever before in direct relief 70-year history. The people who know the most, have the most at stake, are going to do the best job with the resources they have are the ones who live there.
Just received a large shipment of critical medicine from direct relief.
Some gauze, some bandages for people that are managing the response and rescue efforts.
We're standing strong, united with every other organization providing primary care and critical access to those individuals who have been most impacted.
Welcome back to Phoenix World Championship. We are in the middle of a qualifying session for the final event of the year. Race 18 out of 18 of a Phoenix World Championship here at Hockenheim Ring. The important question, I guess the most important question of all, what will happen in the fight for the podium between Gunses and Burst? They are just 11 points apart in the championship, and the gap might be even closer in a few minutes when the qualifying ends, provided Burst qualifies on top. So this is something that is definitely gonna be interesting through and through and through. Burst does not settle up, goes back to pits. He has 5 more minutes. Plenty of time. So we'll see what still happens. They have a few laps each. Gunses is in the pit lane right now. We are following Burst. His teammate put a 132.3 in, which is pretty fast, at least compared to race pace. We're gonna wait and see. 4 minutes left. We're just gonna go on board with Burst and see what he sees. DRS open. DRS is unlimited use in qualifying. If you dare, you can use it. So we'll see what happens. Just rounding out the final corner for Burst, and then he goes back onto the loud pedal. I don't believe this lap is gonna do anything for him, as it was a pit out lap, 142, but now he's on the charge. One of the most important laps of his season right here, right now. He needs to do better than 133.2. Gunz is currently in third. Ideally, he needs to do better than 132.9 to get 2 more points. Needs to do everything he can, a little bit sideways, but DRS wide open from a get-go. How deep does he dare to drive? How far does he dare to go? Goes in the third sector. Couple of corners to go. He's faster than his previous best. How fast is that? We're gonna wait and see in just a few moments as he crosses the start-finish line and posts 132.3! Brilliant lap that puts him all the way to second. McLaren team right in front of him posted 131.9, breaking the dream of 3 points. But he is well secure right now for the second spot. Mr. Grinder will need 6 tenths. Gunzes jumps in the third place, stealing 1 more point from Fodon. Mr. Grinder will need to improve by 0.15 of a second to get back in third. But still a lap or 2 left. Still a lap or 2 left for everybody to settle themselves and figure it out. Not a lot, but still plenty. Trying to figure out where everybody is. McLaren team is currently behind one of the Western Scrubs. I'm not quite sure which one it is. I know Ted is not on the board just yet, so he will need a clean lap to get on the board. Pocket Sized is in front of Viperion, who is in front of Neon Tiger, but just barely. Oh, McLaren team might have gotten in the way of Photon here. That might have been a problem between teammates. We saw it in qualifying, and Photon spun here. McLaren team slowing down for one of the Western Scrub teams. Might have screwed over his teammate, who now has to settle for his time of 132.2. Pocket Sized off the track and parked. So that's 5th, 6th, and 7th settle for now. Ted has not shown the time yet. Gunzes and Mr. Grinder. Gunzes does not improve. Mr. Grinder is at the end of a lap. He will not get another chance. He needs to improve now to get the point in the battle with Neon Tiger for the place in the championship. And he does! By just 0.03 of a second. He removes Gunzes from top 3. Wow, not even that. I don't know if Gunzes managed to get... No, he stops. He is done. 2 more points. That is 2 more points in favor of Photon Burst, courtesy of his lap and Mr. Grinder. That means the gap is now 9 points. Holy Mother of God. Alright, we see Ted here qualified in 5th. We did not see him on the timing, but he is behind Gunzes. Gunzes qualifies in 4th. Where he is right now, he is fine. If Photon finishes 2nd, Gunzes can afford 4th. The gap between first leading positions is 4. Gunzes needs to, if they're close to the top, Gunzes needs to be within 2 positions of Photon Burst. If Photon finishes 1st, Gunzes needs 3rd. If Photon finishes 2nd, Gunzes needs 4th. If they finish at the end, starting from 5th and down, if Photon finishes 5th, Gunzes stays second because he will be fine with 8th and last place. So this is the deal. Gunses needs to stay within 2 places of Photon Burst to keep his second place. Now we're entering the territory of possible team orders. That one place can decide everything. If Gunses is in 4th, staying in 2nd or 1st is the greatest difference. Just a minute left till probably the biggest race of a championship. We've seen greater races, we've seen more populated races, but I don't think the stakes have been that high before. This second place overall hangs in a 9-point balance between the Mercedes, the Timberwolves Racing Mercedes of Photon Burst, and Gunses Giraffe Malibu Helmet BMW of Gunses. We have just under 30 seconds for the most anticipated red lights of the day. There will be 6 of them, and they're coming on now. Look, but never stare, as we have lights on now. And away we go for the 18th and final time this season. Slow start from Photon Burst. Gunses looking for the inside. Photon lost his second position. They're going 3 wide. There is carnage. Photon Burst is bumped on the outside a little bit. He has to go the odd way around, and that's a disaster for Photon. He has to go all the way around, and he ends up in 7th position. Gunses is in 3rd. This is a disaster for the Timberwolves racing driver. He goes around Viperion, but now he's stuck behind Pocket Sized and Ted. Viperion is on the grass. Neon Tiger gets past him. We have a battle up ahead. Not the greatest exit from Gunses. He's under fire from Ted, while his teammate is under fire from Photon. There is Photon. He dives inside. That is an absolute madman move, and he moves Gunses out of the way. They're still side by side for the position. This is for all the beans. Photon does not want to give up an inch. Gunses tries to go around the outside, but Photon just closes all the gaps imaginable. The descent was massive. He feels like Gunses did him wrong. There was a bump between them. There was a bump between them at the start, and that might be reviewed at the end. This is why Photon ended up on the outside. When I said I didn't want it to go to the steward's room, it might go to the steward's room, but for now, Photon is ahead of Gunses, but that's 4th and 5th. To secure the victory, Photon needs 2 more places, and that's 2 seconds up the road. He needs to get past both Mr. Grinder and Ted, and he needs Gunses to stay right where he is. Alright, we proceed with the race, while I'm struggling with technical difficulties over here. Jesus Christ. Okay, where are we? We are with McLaren team in the lead, and then a battle for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th between Grinder, Ted, Photon, and Gunses. This will decide the championship. Ted is currently in 3rd. Photon is pressuring him. He needs to get past as fast as he can. He knows he's the fastest driver on paper, but is he the fastest driver in this race? There's still plenty of laps to go, but he needs to get past now. He needs to stay with Mr. Grinder, and well, he might want to stay ahead of Mr. Grinder in case he needs his teammate to help, in case he needs team to slow down and give him the place and give him the fighting chance for the title. Team is just riding away into the sunset, but the battle is still going. Photon needs Ted to make a slight mistake, but then go right back and just absolutely block the ever-living shit out of Gunses. That's the plan. And that is what will need to happen. We'll see if Photon will try to undercut once again. He is not stuck just yet, but he knows he can go faster, and he needs to go faster. Gunses is right behind him, and if he tries to make a move that is way too harsh, Gunses might try to use it against him. But he's close, and he will have DRS, a big slide from Ted, so Photon needs to go right about now to avoid slowing himself down. He does, he's on the inside, he will have the DRS wide open. He'll be on the outside of a corner, but he will have enough of an overspeed to secure that place. Ted will not go up in flames that easy, but he slows down and slots back in. He does not have the speed, and he realizes that he tries to maybe get the better exit, but he's still slidey. Now what Photon needs is for Gunses to get stuck behind Ted for the rest of the race. And Gunses needs to get past. Gunses knows that so far the position right here is good enough for Gunses. If it finishes like this, Gunses will keep his second place. But Photon is driving away and driving closer to Mr. Grinder. If he secures second, that's not good enough for Gunses anymore. This is close, but close enough for the Latvian. But he does not control what's going on in the race. He needs to be as close to Photon as possible. Preferably ahead, but that hasn't happened for a while yet. Photon is in control of the race speed against Gunses. But Gunses is still somewhat in control of a championship. He's still fine, but he needs Grinder to be better. The field is still close. Pocket Size is trying to hang on, while Neon Tiger is trying to stay ahead of Viperia. Neon Tiger needs all the points he can get. He is in the battle with Mr. Grinder on points in the championship. The gap between them is 15 or 16 points. Grinder is in second place, but Neon Tiger needs to hope that Photon, Ted and Gunses get past him at some point. Grinder is not gonna go down easy, but Photon Burst is already there. The gap is 0.6 of a second between them. It's a 4-horse race, and this is gonna be, I imagine this is gonna be going till the very end. There is a bit of a gap forming between Photon and Ted, with Photon on the charge. We'll see who blinks first on the pit lane as well. We've seen that undercut works. We've seen both Photon and Grinder pass Ted with the power of the undercut and the pit stop. We'll see if they'll try to use it once again. But so far, we have a battle here. Gunses is applying pressure to Ted. All the pressure in the world. But as we've seen, Ted knows he's racing, knows his points, and knows his counterattacks. He might try to get back at him in the most inopportune place. Gunses just locks up his front right, which is not the best solution for his tire life in long-term health. He'll need them to survive for a while if he wants to pit late, or he doesn't care and he's gonna blink first. Just gonna wait and see. We have 2 battle packs here. Ted is not keeping up with Grinder and Photon at this point. That might be a little bit, if not very frustrating to Gunses. If he passes Ted and stays in the 4th, Photon will need to win the race. But once again, we're not discrediting the race leader right now. McLaren team is in the lead, but he's still 4 points that can go to Photon if needed. But first of all, Photon needs to get past Mr. Grinder. This is for all the marbles. We know both the Dutchman and the German are just grasping their wheels to the extent of their ability, trying to squeeze every last thousandth of a second out of their machinery. This is the last race of the season. There is nothing else after that. If you're gonna do it, you gotta do it in the next 22 minutes plus 1 lap. Battle back still happening. Guns is still not able to get past Ted, but Mr. Grinder holds the fort. We're approaching the Parabolica once again. I don't quite see if the letterbox is wide open or not. But Photon Burst is looking for a move. He's not quite close yet, so he might be just sitting behind Grinder, trying to build a little bit of a gap to the guys behind to ensure he doesn't lose the position while he attempts an overtake. This is a risky strategy in terms of, well, having enough time to complete an overtake, but this is a wise strategy in terms of safety of that attempted overtake. He knows Grinder will not go down easily. So whatever he has to do, there has to be a nice and clean way to do it. Meanwhile, in the battle for 7th place, Neon Tiger and Viperian clutching together. The BMW versus an Audi, still close together, still battling. We have quite a few battle packs. I'm not sure what to show. I don't have the race monitor, so I have no idea what's going on. So I will try my best not to miss an overtake anywhere. But everything is going on. The final race is sure delivering in the first 10 minutes. It's all to play for. It's all happening. It's all close. Photoburst looks on the outside. Grinder closes the door into turn 1. It's not happening just yet, but we'll see if Photon is able to do something into turn 2 and 3. The Parabolica. It's not necessarily close enough. Gunses is keeping a little bit of a gap to Ted ahead. He's not looking for a pass right now. Maybe he's waiting for a strategy. Maybe he's trying to overcut. We don't know if that strategy worked just yet. It's close. Well, we haven't... All the pits have been happening very close to each other to not see an overcut long enough to succeed. McLaren team 7 seconds ahead at this point. But the rest is a huge train of drivers. All together. Mr. Grinder, Photon Burst, Ted, and Gunses. The gaps are pretty much even between all of them. Meanwhile, behind them, another battle is still going on between Viperian and Neon Tiger, the 05 Audi chasing the 12 BMW. Still a battle in the championship, still close to call, and still points on offer for everybody involved. Have just under 20 minutes to go. Everything, the tension is incredible. Not lots of actual action, pardon me. Oh, that might change. Viperian was looking for an inside move, not close enough to attempt that under braking. Ted is speeding up a little bit, leaving Gunses somewhat behind in 5th place. That works better for Photon, who just needs one overtake to secure that lead in the championship. Looking at Neon Tiger and Viperian right here as they cross the start-finish line. They're behind each other. Meanwhile, in the Parabolica, Photon Burst is still behind Mr. Grinder. Still with the letterbox open, you can see the gap between two small portions of the DRS. Photon Burst goes on the inside and there is a touch side by side. And another touch. And Ted goes through. This is not what he wanted. Side by side with the Ted. Mr. Grinder loses a couple of positions, but the Ted is on the inside now. Will Ted get that position? Photon Burst is sideways. Oh no! Photon Burst is in the wall. That might be the end of it. That might just be the end of it. Photon Burst is in the wall and down to 5th place. Ted goes up to 2nd. He's still within reach, but now he lost all the track position. He has 17 minutes to get it back. Disaster! Disaster for Photon Burst. Absolute disaster. Now he has to complete 3 overtakes. Once again. He might need to pit right now and try to get an undercut, but if he pits first, he might trigger the wave. Let's see what he does. This is a difficult choice, but Photon Burst goes in the pits. A very difficult moment for him, but now this is go time. Guns is in the pits as well. 2 podium contenders are in the pits next to each other. Photon Burst will have to pass Guns on track, but it's not clear for the rest of them. Ted and Mr. Grinder stay on track as we speak. Gunses goes out. Photon goes out. The gap is about 3 seconds. And we'll see what happens. Neon Tiger and Viperian go past Gunses. They will have to battle with him here Viperian goes for a move, a late dive, but he misses completely. A desperation dive, but he will get in the way of Gunsis. That might be the best news of the day for Photon Burst, as Gunsis will possibly get held by Viperian and Neon Tiger here, who are yet to pit. He will need Gunsis to get closer and closer. The gap between them, 3 seconds. Very large, and the most importantly, Ted and Mr. Grinder are not gonna give up that 3-second gap to him. This all turned upside down between all those drivers in a matter of one mistake from Photon Burst. But it's still all up to play for. There is the duo, Ted and Mr. Grinder. Mr. Grinder lost the position due to complete argy-bargy by Photon. Will he lose? Sorry, will he gain that position back? We don't know, because Ted goes into the pit lane, from the second place. He does not want to get undercut severely. We'll see how that changes the perspective from the drivers chasing him. 3 seconds is a large gap. They did not gain that much before. Neon Tiger goes into the pit lane. Gunsis says thank you, but Viperian is right in front of him. He will not give a position that easily. There is a battle for position happening. He does not have to yield, and he will not yield. A very frustrated Gunsis is right behind him. Photon Burst gets past Neon Tiger in the pits. Where is Ted? Okay, Gunsis goes past in the corner, but he will have slow takeaway. But he still has a solid gap. Solid gap to Photon. It's still basically 3 seconds. Photon won maybe half a second from that. It's an uphill battle. This is gonna be a very, very difficult move for Photon Burst. He will now have to hope that Viperian stays on track for long enough to give him DRS, but not long enough to get in his way. This is most important for him right now. So this is definitely gonna go to the end still. It's too close to call. McLaren team, the leader, is in the pit. So the only car to stay out at this point is Mr. Grinder. Never mind. He goes into the pits with McLaren team. Pocket Sized is still on the track. He will try to go lawn, I believe. So we'll see how that works. The only driver to go lawn once again. Viperian is still out, but he's in the pack. He's eaten by the pack. We'll see. Pocket Size goes in front of Mr. Grinder, but behind McLaren team, who is already in turn 2. So we'll need to go on board with Photon Burst, who will now have the biggest challenge of his season that he just made a little bit more difficult. Trying to chase everyone. 11 minutes, 30 seconds and 1 lap. The time just seemed to vanish for the driver of Photon Burst, who still has to pass all 3 cars in front of him. And the furthest one is 7 seconds up. The task is monumental. Meanwhile, Mr. Grinder and Gunsis still close together as Ted drives away. Remember that if if Photon finishes in 4th, he will need still Gunsis to finish 7th. But with pocket-sized pit, that's gonna become, well, they're gonna all go 1 place up. That means currently Photon will be in 5th place. So if Mr. Grind and Gunsis have an incident, he's gonna be in 3rd. He will need Gunsis to finish 6th. That means he will need pocket size to get in front. Viperian goes into the pit lane as well, and we are actually gonna watch that right now because he had a battle with Neon Tiger before Neon Tiger went for an early stop. There's Neon. We could see him in the back right there. We'll see if Viperian is fast enough to get out of turn 1 on the pit lane before Neon Tiger. There goes Neon, there's Viperian. The race off the pit road is full on, but Neon Tiger is ahead by a couple seconds. Sorry, not a couple seconds, probably a second. Not even that, but Viperian will need to warm up his tires, and probably he's not gonna beat Neon Tiger without a mistake from a former. Meanwhile, the battle continues. Ted, Mr. Grinder and Gunsis, couple seconds between each other, and Photon Burst behind the with a bruised and battered car, trying his best to figure out what to do here. .132.3 from McLaren team. He's just teasing. He's just teasing, and with Photon in 5th, there's no possibility for basically any team orders. With Gunsis ahead, he's in control. With Gunsis ahead, it doesn't matter where any of them finish, because he has that covered. We'll see. Photon maybe was too optimistic. We'll definitely have to see replays from that after the race ends to see what the hell happened. And if Photon was too aggressive, something happened, but 9 minutes plus 1 lap, the time seems to disappear off the clock, and it goes the fastest for P5 right now. The Mercedes in P5 is still a 7-second gap to where he needs to be. A 7-second gap with nobody else moving is what he needs. He needs to get a second per minute. It's a monumental task, as Ted seems to not be slowing down at all. Cruising to P2. Mr. Grinder defending his podium position. Ted and Mr. Grinder did what they needed to do for Photon, actually. They are 2nd and 3rd, they're denying Gunsis the podium. But the problem is, Photon is behind. McLaren team all by himself. Meanwhile, the gap is just over 2 seconds behind with the Viperian and Neon Tiger battle. Neon Tiger is secure in the 7th. And looking at the standings, it might just be enough if he finishes 7th and Grinder stays in 3rd to secure that position overall. I'm not quite sure with 1 more point for the Grinder in the qualifying. It will definitely be close, but he cannot afford to lose another position to Viperian, that's for sure. It might be good enough for Neon Tiger here. It's definitely gonna be tight on points at the end. We're gonna have the final point standing for you on Twitter and on the post-season show when all these steward inquiries are settled and all the points are counted and all drop weeks are removed. We do have 2 steward inquiries for race 2. The lap 1 turn 1 incident between Photon Burst and Gunsis is noted by the stewards, as well as incident between Photon Burst and Mr. Grinder in this hairpin, which ended in contact. So Photon will be under investigation twice, but still doesn't mean he will get any penalties. We'll have to wait and see the steward inquiries. There are also steward inquiries for DRS usage, so that might change. Everything is still under review, but on track right now, Gunses is in the position to do what he needs to do. Meanwhile, behind, we do have a battle. Neon Tiger defending with all his might. He cannot afford to lose that place, remember. He needs that 7th position. He's been in front of Viperion this entire race. He needs to stay in front of Viperion for approximately 10 more minutes. Maybe 10 more minutes and a bit. It's so close. It's so tight. It's impossible to predict. 132.8 from Photon Burst. He's flying on the track. It might be too little too late. But the gap is now 5 seconds to where he needs to be. The gaps are shrinking. Most importantly, the gap between Grinder, Gunses and Photon are shrinking. Photon cannot afford Gunses to make another pass. If Gunses is in 4th, Photon will need to win the race. It's next to impossible at this point. So he will need Gunses to stay behind everybody but make all the passes himself. 5.5 minutes plus 1 lap. Photon is on the charge. No doubt, whatever help he has left, he's using it. He is using all the track and then some. He's pushing it the hardest. 1 second to Gunses. 1 more second to Grinder. And 2 more seconds to Ted. This is what he needs to close in the next 5 minutes. It seems impossible, but is it? Incredible battles still possible in his final round. Desperation mode for Photon, and he's sideways, he's in the gravel. He's trying a little bit too hard. He's giving it everything he can, but that might be just a little bit too much as he's in the gravel again, and he lost another probably a second to the car ahead. He needs that again, as I said before, which I said before many times, as I said before, it might not be a physical battle right now. It might be a psychological battle at this point. Gunses is on the downswing. He's still not on the podium. But that one desperation move from Photon, and now he's in complete desperation mode, making mistakes, trying to get it back. He needs perfect laps, but he is not getting them, despite being probably the 2nd fastest car in the field right now. We are back 2 seconds between him and where he needs to be. This is crazy. This is close. Oh boy. A few laps to go. I'm trying to figure out without the race monitor where McLaren team currently is and how many laps we're gonna have. I believe McLaren team is gonna round out the final turn right about now. Yes, he crossed the line at 1:32. He will have 2 more laps before time expires, which means 4 to go for everybody here. Photon Burst has 4 laps to make 3 passes. 4 laps to gain 6 seconds. 4 laps to make the impossible happen. He's still chasing Gunses. If not for the 2nd place, he might just do it for the pride. He might just try and overtake. Just to make sure Gunses knows he was the fastest. He had the pace. If not for that small error, he would have been there. It's still close to count. And we still have the battle behind, don't forget. We're trying to show everything we can, but it's still lots of battles happening. Neon Tiger and Viperion squabbling for 7th place. Very close to each other within a second. You bet the Kiwi is all over the DRS button right here, right now. As they have 4 more to go. As we see the wide angle shot. Ted is in control of the 2nd place. Mr. Grinder hunting him down for 3rd. Behind him, Gunses in 4th, and Photon Burst right behind him. This is the battle for 4th and 5th. McLaren team 20 seconds ahead of a pack. He's showing the dominant performance that got him the first win in Phoenix World Championship. He had Sharky to battle with back then. Sharky is not here now, so clean air for him. No Hufflepuff to get in his way. And clear air for our race leader. 3 laps to go. 3 laps to go for this bunch. The time is winding down. Count the last laps of 2019 Phoenix World Championship. The last battles to be had. This is probably one of the most nerve-wracking races we had, despite the low number of participants in this race. We still had an exciting race, and we still might have an exciting race. Mr. Grant is not too far away from Gunses, and Gunses is not too far away from Photon. Anything can happen. Last minute of the race winding down. McLaren team will cross the will cross the finish line with a few seconds on the clock to go, which will mean 2 more to go for him and everybody else behind him. Don't go anywhere, anything can happen. Fortenberg sideways again and again, and once again. He's trying everything and then some to get there. It might not be happening, but he's still in it. Insane racing right here. Insane driving, insane skill, and tight competition. Officially, we have 2 more laps to go as we see the leader in turn 1 already. That means 2 to go. Now that the time expires, Fortenberg is closest that he's ever been since his issue to Gunses. He'll try to make a move for the pride, or anything he can do. Still waiting. He looks on the inside. There might be the move. Down the inside, he sends it. Side by side with Gunses. Gunses still ahead. That was the first attempt. He will still have a couple more. It's still not over. Photon looks on the outside. Gunses closed down the inside for the hairpin. Let's see if he can do it. And he's through. He's through, but he's too far. Gunses looks for a move back. Whoa! He locks up to avoid Fortenberg, who already turned in. And Gunses would have got the slam dunk penalty if he would have punted Photon. He plays it safe now. He is good where he is right now. Photon gets, I believe, 3 points, but there are still 5 more, and that means there's still 2 positions. 4 seconds from Photon to where he needs to be. He's been closing the gap ever since his error, but he's just too big. He sees that position. He almost can feel it, but it might just be out of reach as they approach the final lap of the race, the final lap of the weekend, and final lap of 2019 Phoenix World Championship. McLaren team in the lead. Ted is in second place, and we'll see if Photon will have 1 lap to get onto the podium from Mr. Grinder. We're gonna switch to our leader here. He's 22 seconds back. We gotta go on board with McLaren team. He is completing his final lap. We'll definitely switch to whatever's going on if we see if the drivers are close to each other, closer than comfortable for each of them. But meanwhile, now it's 71 driver. Almost a flawless season. Almost a complete sweep of the field. Just let a couple of victories slip from his hands, but otherwise, fantastic driving from the American. Led his team to the Teams Championship. Secured Drivers Championship back at Lausitzring. And now, he's gonna cross the line to officially claim his status as the inaugural Phoenix World Championship champion. The final turn, a little bit sideways, a little clip of a curb, and he completes the championship and claims the victory. McLaren team is your 2019 Drivers Champion, now officially. We go back to the podium fight. Photon Burst, the last ditch effort. He is less than a second behind Mr. Grinder and 3 seconds behind his dream, but it's not close enough. He'll have to settle for 4th, and Gunses, finishing in 5th, stays in the 2nd place in the championship, while Photon gets 3rd. It's way too close to call between Mr. Grinder who gets 3rd place, and this man, Neon Tiger, who is still battling. It's still not over at the end of a pack. Neon Tiger is still trying to keep his place in the race and in the championship. Half a lap to go between him and Viperian. And it's still too close to call in the championship on points between him and Mr. Grinder. We'll have to go to our mathematicians and our calculators. We cannot provide you live standings. Viperian tries last-ditch effort. Very dangerous, but not close enough. Neon Tiger opens up the line and stays in 7th place. Brilliant race by both drivers. Fight to the very last corner, and Neon Tiger finishes in 7th. Holy mother of God, there is your field. There are your drivers sitting on a gravel trap, trying to figure out what just happened and how did they end up like this. The championship is over, ladies and gentlemen, and it's been an insane driving through and through and through. Brilliant race and brilliant championship. It's not over. We'll still have a few student inquiries, but as it stands right now, McLaren team is your champion, and Gunsis is currently in your 2nd place. Let's quickly try to get some opinions right here. And first of all, and well, I guess most importantly right here, your champion, McLaren team. Congratulations with the win. Congratulations with the title. The room is yours.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, I don't know. I think for Photon, I think that was his race today. It was so close in the end in the championship for him. But yeah, I'm happy to say that all the hard work pays off. Whether it's race by race or just over the whole championship. And, yeah, thanks everyone for racing. Thanks Georgian for the broadcast. It's always fucking amazing to watch yourself go around. It's great. So yeah, thanks everyone.
Congratulations once again. I'll leave you to celebrate. I won't bother you more with this interview. Congratulations, and see you next season.
Yeah, thanks Georgian.
And now, probably the biggest heartbreak. So close, yet so far, Photon.
Yeah, you could say that.
Just 6 points at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's always when it's a close gap. You can always say that, you don't know where you lost it. There was just some really bad rounds. Like round 1, I just left a lot of points on the table, and I think that was the only round that really cost me in the end. And I gave it my all, but I think I was just playing it a little bit too risky in that 2nd race, most of all. And yeah, that bad start totally didn't help because I had the worst start ever. And what I was trying to do was to give Ted a toe so that Gunsis couldn't pass him. So I was constantly staying behind Grinder, and then at some point Grinder made a mistake. I was like, okay, I'll make a move, and then I just braked too late, and I felt a tap from the rear. I haven't seen replay, so I don't really want to comment on it. I don't know what happened exactly. But I got a tap that just made the car very unstable. I overheated the rear tires, and then when I went through the right kink after it, I just went around, and that was basically all my chance gone. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything just yet. We do have a couple student inquiries still going, but from the results of the track, just thank you for providing so much entertainment right to the end. We did mention that it was kind of a desperation mode, I guess, for you at the end. Lots of risky moves from early on. It just didn't work at one point, but still, you gave it your all right to the very end, and you put the exclamation point, if not for this season, but for next season to Gunsis by overtaking him, that it's gonna be even more difficult for Latvia next year.
Yeah, hopefully I'll make that happen. That'll be really good if that fight ever happens.
Definitely. Congratulations with great racing, with the podium overall in the championship, still great achievement, And
Exactly, can't complain about that.
and the team's victory with a team that was absolute domination by Timberwolves. And I'll let you guys wind down from a race. And see you next season.
Yeah, thanks for the broadcasting this season. It's been really good, and hopefully we can get some more consistency in. That would be nice. But yeah, good job on the quality. It's been solid all season, so thanks a lot for that, and hopefully see you then.
Thank you. And last but not the least, the man that probably lost the most amount of nerve cells throughout this last couple of hours. Congratulations with the second place overall for now. And how was it from your point of view?
It was certainly nerve-wracking, especially since race 1 I got a penalty for no apparent reason. I don't know why I was given drive-through penalty, so I had no choice but to take it and get the 5th vote I could. And in the second race, it was a bit more chaotic, I guess. But at least I managed to, or I guess Photon managed to not keep his second place in the race.
Yeah, it was one mistake, but the charge at the end, it was just 6 points separated you. 2 positions separated you throughout 18 races. And do you think it'll go all the way to the next season, this battle and this close result between you two?
Well, I hope Photon will be able to keep up, let's say it like that, because my target definitely is going after Tim, who is so far being undefeated, but it would be really good if we could give him a challenge in the next season.
Alright, and well, the last pass by Photon, it might have been a message to you regarding next season. I might have not won this time, but next time it's gonna be different.
Partially a message, partially there was really nothing I could do. I was out of DRS uses, and the setup was really eating away my tires, so on the latter half of the tire stint it was starting to get really hard to keep it steady in the corners. So I didn't have much choice in that, but at least I could keep him at bay, at least for one corner, so that he couldn't do any charge into Grinder or Ted.
Well, it definitely worked for you at the end. Congratulations with the second place. Congratulations with the second place in the Teams Championship for Guns's Draft Malibu Helmet. And see you next season for more exciting racing.
Thank you. See you next season.
Alright, and for me and the entire broadcasting team at Phoenix Racing Club, thank you very much. Thank you for $115 towards a Phoenix World Championship Direct Relief campaign as well. That will all go right to charity. The campaign closes later today. And until next time, my name is Dimian Ilababansky, and this is goodbye. Until next year.
Well, we have